If you're watching this video right now, you've probably been implementing no contact for days, maybe weeks, possibly even months. And you're desperate to know if it's actually working. You're analyzing every little interaction, dissecting every social media post, looking for any sign that your ex is feeling what you felt when they first left. You want to know if they're thinking about you, if they miss you, if they regret their decision. But here's what most people don't realize. There isn't just one sign that no contact is working. There's one specific moment, one unmistakable turning point that tells you everything has shifted. And once you see it, you'll know with absolute certainty that your ex's psychology has fundamentally changed. Before we dive into this, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now because this channel is dedicated to helping you navigate breakups, understand attraction, and make empowered decisions about your relationships. And if this video helps you today, please click the like button. It genuinely helps us reach more people who are going through exactly what you're experiencing right now. So let's talk about what everyone gets wrong when they're trying to figure out if no contact is working. Most people are looking for the obvious signs. They're waiting for their ex to text them saying, "I miss you" or "I made a mistake." They're hoping their ex will show up at their door or post something cryptic on social media that's clearly about them. And yes, these things can happen, but they're not the turning point. They're not the sign that tells you no contact has genuinely worked on a psychological level. In fact, if your ex reaches out early in the no contact period with "I miss you" or "How are you doing?", that's often a sign that no contact hasn't worked yet. That's just your ex testing the waters, making sure you're still there, confirming they still have power over you. It's the same behavior they'd show in phase 2 of the mental hell I talked about in my previous video. The confusion phase, where they're just checking if their safety net is still intact. The real turning point is something completely different. And to understand it, you need to understand what no contact is actually doing to your ex's brain. When you first go into no contact, your ex doesn't feel loss. They feel relief. They feel freedom. They think they made the right choice. But as time passes and you maintain your silence, something begins to shift in their psychology. They start to experience what psychologists call phantom limb syndrome in relationships. Just like someone who loses a limb can still feel it there, your ex starts to feel your absence as a presence. You become a ghost that haunts their everyday life. They see something funny and instinctively want to send it to you. Then remember, they can't. They have a bad day and reach for their phone to text you, then stop. They hear a song you both loved and feel a pang of something they can't quite name. This is when your ex begins the journey from relief to loss. But they're not there yet. They're still in denial. They're still telling themselves they made the right choice. They're still convincing themselves that you weren't that special, that they can find someone better, that they're happier without you. And this is where most people make a critical mistake. They see their ex liking their social media posts or sending a casual message, and they think it's working. They're coming back. So they respond, they engage. They show their cards, and in that moment, they reset everything. Their ex gets confirmation that the safety net is still there. The anxiety disappears, and they go right back to feeling relief instead of loss. But if you stay strong, if you maintain no contact, even when your ex reaches out, something powerful happens. Your ex hits what I call the wall of reality. This is the turning point. This is the moment when everything changes. The wall of reality is the exact moment when your ex stops hoping you'll come back and starts fearing you won't. It's the moment when denial breaks and they're forced to confront the actual possibility that they've lost you forever. Not theoretically, not in some distant future. But right now, in this moment, you might be gone from their life permanently. Here's how you'll know when your ex hits this wall. It's not subtle. It's not ambiguous. It's unmistakable. The turning point happens when your ex stops trying to maintain control and starts showing genuine vulnerability. Let me break down exactly what this looks like because this is crucial. Before the turning point, when your ex reaches out, there's always an element of control in their communication. They text you but keep it casual. They ask how you're doing but don't reveal anything about themselves. They might say they miss you but quickly add as a friend or "I hope we can stay in touch." They're reaching out, yes, but they're doing it from a position of power. They're still the one who left. They're still the one who gets to decide if you come back. They're still in the driver's seat. This is not the turning point. This is just them maintaining their safety net. But when your ex hits the wall of reality, everything about their communication changes. Suddenly, there's raw emotion. There's desperation. There's genuine fear. They're not trying to stay cool or maintain the upper hand. They're reaching out because they're terrified of losing you and they can't hide it anymore. The message won't be casual. It'll be long, emotional, vulnerable. They'll talk about specific memories, specific things they miss about you, specific regrets they have. They'll acknowledge their mistakes without trying to justify them. They'll ask questions that reveal they've been thinking about you constantly. Have you moved on? Are you seeing someone else? Do you ever think about us? And here's the key difference. They're not asking these questions to test you. They're asking because they genuinely need to know and they're terrified of the answer. Another sign of the turning point is that your ex will finally take accountability. Before this moment, even if your ex said they made mistakes, there was always a but attached. I know I hurt you, but you did this. I probably shouldn't have ended it that way, but I wasn't happy. Maybe I was too harsh. But you have to understand, that's not real accountability. That's just damage control. But when your ex hits the wall of reality, the buts disappear. They'll say things like, I was wrong. I didn't appreciate what I had. I took you for granted. I made the biggest mistake of my life. And they'll say these things without trying to spread the blame, without making excuses, without trying to make you feel guilty for their pain. This is a massive psychological shift because it means your ex has moved from defending their decision to questioning it. They've stopped trying to convince themselves they were right and started confronting the possibility that they were catastrophically wrong. The third element of the turning point is what I call the desperation tell. This is when your ex's behavior becomes noticeably different from their usual patterns. If your ex is typically proud and stubborn, they'll suddenly become humble and apologetic. If they're usually logical and controlled, they'll become emotional and impulsive. If they're normally independent and distant, they'll become clingy and persistent. This shift happens because the wall of reality breaks through their ego defenses. They're no longer able to maintain the persona they want to project. The mask falls off and you see their genuine emotional state, which is panic, regret, and fear of permanent loss. You might see them showing up places they know you'll be, even though they'd normally never do that. You might see them reaching out through multiple channels, text, social media, mutual friends, because one method isn't enough. You might see them making grand gestures or promises they'd normally consider beneath them. Now here's what's absolutely critical to understand. The turning point doesn't mean you should immediately take your ex back. In fact, how you respond to the turning point is just as important as recognizing it. Because here's what most people do. They see their ex finally breaking down, finally showing real emotion, finally admitting they made a mistake, and they get so excited that they throw the door wide open. They respond with equal desperation. They pour out their heart. They immediately forgive everything. They agree to meet up right away. And guess what happens? The dynamic shifts back. Your ex got what they needed, confirmation that you're still available, and suddenly that panic subsides. The fear disappears, and often they pull back again because they realize the safety net is still there. They haven't actually lost you, so the urgency fades. Instead, when you recognize the turning point, you need to respond with what I call warm strength. You acknowledge their vulnerability without rewarding their past behavior. You show that you're open to conversation, but not desperate for it. You demonstrate that you've grown during this time apart and you're not the same person they left. This might sound like, I appreciate you being honest about your feelings. I've been doing a lot of thinking and growing during this time too. I'm open to talking, but I need to make sure we're both in the right place for that conversation. Notice what this does. It validates their courage in reaching out. It shows you're not closed off, but it also maintains your value and sets a boundary. You're not jumping back into their arms. You're saying, I hear you, but I need to see sustained change, not just a moment of panic. Here's why this response is so powerful. It keeps your ex in the transformative space they've entered. They've hit the wall of reality. They've felt genuine fear of losing you. And now they need to sit with that feeling long enough for it to create lasting change. If you immediately rescue them from that discomfort, they learn nothing. The old patterns will return. But if you respond with warm strength, you extend their period of reflection. You give them space to really examine what went wrong, why they left, and what they need to change to deserve another chance. And here's the beautiful part. While they're doing that work, you're continuing to do yours. You're not putting your healing on hold, waiting for them to prove themselves. You're still moving forward, still growing, still building a life you're proud of. Now, let's talk about timing, because this is where people get confused. How long does it take for an ex to hit the turning point? The honest answer is it varies dramatically depending on multiple factors. It depends on how long you were together, how deep the connection was, who else is in their life, and most importantly, how well you've maintained no contact. If you've been consistently no contact, not responding to not stalking their social media, not reaching out through mutual friends, the turning point typically happens between 3 weeks and 3 months. But if you've been breaking no contact, responding to their messages, showing you're still available, it might never happen at all. Or it might take 6 months, a year, or longer because you keep resetting their psychology back to square one. There are also factors that can accelerate or delay the turning point. If your ex jumps into a rebound relationship immediately after your breakup, the turning point will likely be delayed because they're using someone else to avoid feeling the loss of you. But here's what's interesting. When that rebound relationship ends or loses its novelty, the turning point often hits even harder because they've had time to compare the new person to you and realize what they lost. If your ex has a support system that constantly validates their decision to leave you, the turning point takes longer because they're surrounded by people telling them they did the right thing. But if their friends or family liked you and question their decision, or if they see you thriving through mutual connections, it accelerates the process. Let me share what the turning point looked like in a real situation. I worked with a client named Sarah whose ex-boyfriend had left her after 3 years together. He told her he needed space to find himself, that he felt trapped in the relationship, that he wasn't sure if she was the one. Classic avoidant attachment language. Sarah was devastated, but she committed to strict no contact. No texting, no calling, no social media interaction, nothing. For the first 2 weeks, her ex seemed fine. He was posting on social media about his newfound freedom, hanging out with friends, seemingly happy with his choice. Sarah found this incredibly painful, but she stayed strong. Around week 3, he sent her a casual, "Hey, how are you?" text. Sarah didn't respond. Week 4, he texted again, "I hope you're doing okay." Still no response from Sarah. Week 5, he posted something on social media that Sarah used to love, clearly trying to get her attention. She didn't like it or comment. By week 6, something shifted. He sent a long message at 2 in the morning. It wasn't casual. It wasn't controlled. It was raw and emotional. He talked about specific moments they'd shared, things he missed, mistakes he'd made. He asked if she'd moved on, if there was someone else, if she ever thought about him. He said he'd been doing a lot of thinking and realized he took her for granted. This was the turning point. Sarah recognized it immediately. But here's what made her approach so effective. She didn't respond right away. She waited 2 days, letting him sit with that vulnerability. Then she responded with warm strength. She thanked him for his honesty, told him she'd been focusing on her own growth, and said she'd be open to a conversation but needed time to process everything. That response kept him in the transformative space. Over the next few weeks, he continued reaching out, but now it was consistent and genuine. He wasn't playing games. He was doing the work to understand what went wrong and how he could be better. Eventually, they did have that conversation, and he came to it with genuine humility and commitment to change. They're back together now, but in a much healthier dynamic because the turning point forced him to truly value what he'd lost. But here's what I want you to understand. The turning point isn't just about getting your ex back. It's about something much more important. It's about restoring the power balance in your dynamic. Think about how you felt when your ex first left you. You felt powerless. You felt rejected. You felt like you were the one who wanted them more than they wanted you. That imbalance is toxic for any relationship. Even if you got back together immediately after the breakup, that power imbalance would poison everything. You'd always feel like you were the one who needed them more. You'd always feel like they could leave again anytime they wanted. You'd always be walking on eggshells trying to keep them happy. That's not a relationship. That's a prison. The turning point changes everything because it forces your ex to experience what you felt. They feel the powerlessness. They feel the rejection. They feel the fear of loss. And that experience humbles them in a way that nothing else can. It makes them realize you're not a guaranteed option. You're a person with value who can and will walk away if not treated properly. So when you see the turning point, when your ex hits that wall of reality and starts showing genuine vulnerability, genuine accountability, and genuine fear of losing you permanently, you'll know that no contact has worked. Not just superficially, but at a deep psychological level. Your ex's entire perception of you and the relationship has shifted. But remember, seeing the turning point doesn't mean your work is done. It means a door has opened, but you still get to decide if you want to walk through it. You need to evaluate whether your ex is showing sustained change or just a moment of panic. You need to assess whether the issues that led to the breakup have been addressed or if they'll just resurface later. You need to be honest with yourself about whether you even want this person back or if you've realized during no contact that you deserve better. Because here's the ultimate truth that I need you to hear. The goal of no contact isn't to manipulate your ex into wanting you back. The goal is to create space for both of you to gain clarity about what you really want. Sometimes the turning point happens and you realize you don't actually want them back anymore. Sometimes the turning point reveals that your ex is capable of growth and genuine change. And sometimes the turning point never comes. And that tells you everything you need to know about their level of investment in you. All of these outcomes are valuable because they move you forward. They give you information. They prevent you from staying stuck in limbo, wondering what could have been. The turning point is powerful because it forces reality to the surface. It strips away the confusion, the mixed signals, the breadcrumbs, the games. It reveals the truth about whether your ex genuinely values you or whether they just value having you as an option. So if you're in no contact right now, stop looking for every little sign that it's working. Stop analyzing every social media post. Stop asking mutual friends if your ex has mentioned you. Instead, focus on your own growth and healing. Focus on becoming the kind of person who doesn't need their ex to validate their worth. Focus on building a life so fulfilling that your ex becomes a detail in your story rather than the entire narrative. Because when you do that authentically, one of two things will happen. Either your ex will hit the turning point and come back genuinely transformed, or they won't, and you'll realize you've already moved on to something better. Either way, you win. Either way, you're no longer the person who is left behind. You're the person who chose themselves, who maintained their dignity, who refused to beg for scraps of affection from someone who couldn't see their value. The turning point isn't just about your ex's psychology changing. It's about yours changing too. It's about you realizing that you don't need anyone to complete you, even if you want someone to share your life with. It's about understanding that the right person won't make you chase them, won't make you question your worth, won't make you feel like you're not enough. The turning point is when both you and your ex finally see reality clearly, and whatever happens after that moment is based on truth, not desperation, not fear, not manipulation, just truth. And truth is the only foundation on which a healthy relationship can be built. So keep going, stay strong, maintain your no contact, focus on yourself, and trust that if the turning point is meant to happen, it will. And when it does, you'll recognize it immediately because it won't be subtle, it won't be ambiguous, it will be undeniable. And in that moment, you'll have all the power to decide what comes next. Because you're not the backup plan. You're not the safety net. You're the prize. And it's time your ex realized that. Or it's time you found someone who already knows it.